Okay, so lesson one, part two. I said I was going to go through these example problems, right? We've got 8 of them over here, and we have a unit circle that's completely filled in, right? So we've got all the degrees, all the radians, all of the ordered pairs. So first thing I want to do is check in with the directions. And I notice that I am asked for radian measures only. Okay, so you're not going to be answering these problems with 60 degrees or 90 degrees or 245 degrees. You're just not. Okay, so no degrees, only radians. And I want to check my domain. My domain is any values, including 0 and 2 pi, right? We have little equal to parts here, which means that theta could equal 0 and theta could equal 2 pi, all right? So using all this information, anything on the unit circle is fair game, okay? So problem number one, I am looking for cosine and 1/2. So off to the side here, and this is something I did for years and years and years until it really stuck in my head, I would just remind myself that every ordered pair is cosine sine. Now, if you're struggling with how to remember that, it's alphabetical. It's that simple, right? Cosine comes before sine alphabetically. Cosine comes before sine in these ordered pairs. So I am looking for an x value, because cosine is an x value, that is 1/2. So I'm going to scan my little unit circle. Ooh, right here. Right here. I have an x value of 1/2, and that is a radian measure of pi over 3. So I'm going to keep going, keep going. Okay, all of these x's are negative, so I'm going to ignore them. All of these x's are negative. I'm going to ignore those. Ooh, found another one right down here. Okay, right down here, I've got a x value that's 1/2 with a radian measure of 5 pi over 3. So here's what this tells me. For problem number one, theta is equal to pi over 3 or 5 pi over 3. I write way too big for this. Sorry about that. So both of those are the answers for problem number one. Okay? I am going to erase what I've done so far so I don't end up just covering this whole unit circle in a highlighter. Okay, so problem number two, I have sine of theta is equal to negative root 3 over 2. So I'm going to remind myself that sine is the y value of my ordered pairs. And I'm just going to start rolling around my unit circle here. All of these y values are positive. All of these y values are positive, so I'm not going to find my answer up here. But let's see if I start rolling through right here. Right down here. This has a y value of negative root 3 over 2 at a radian value of 4 pi over 3. I'm going to keep going, see if there's any more. Found another one. Okay, here's another y value of negative root 3 over 2 at a radian value of 5 pi over 3. Okay, so let's see if I can do a slightly better job this time of writing them in here. So theta is equal to 4 pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. The order that you write your two answers doesn't matter. If you want to put the word or between them as opposed to using a comma, that's fine. Okay, so again, I'm going to erase what I've highlighted. Okay, and I'm going to try it again. Okay, so now I have cosine of theta is equal to 0. Remind yourself your cosine values are your x values. I always tend to just start here at 0, 0 radians, 0 degrees, and just rotate counterclockwise around the unit circle. You do whatever makes sense for you. Okay, so as I look at these ordered pairs, none of these has an x value of 0. Ooh, right here it does. Okay, that little x value of 0. Apparently I have lots of highlighter there. There we go. Okay. So I have an x value of 0 at pi over 2. So I'm going to keep rolling. Oh, right down here, found another one. Right, there's my x value of 0 at 3 pi over 2. So theta is equal to pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. The hard part with some of these early problems is they're pretty straightforward, so there's really not much work to show. So don't feel like you need to show me extra work. You don't need to make up anything extra. What I would say, though, is if you're a visual person like me, highlight up your unit circle, right? You're working at least electronically on the iPad, hopefully, so you can highlight it, mark it up, draw all over it, and then erase it. Do it again if you need to. Okay? So number 4 here, sine of pi, I don't know why I just said sine of pi, sine of theta is equal to root 2 over 2. Okay, so remembering that sine is y values. So we have a y value right here on the very edge here. This is, and I'm now just covering it up. All right here I've got root 2 over 2 at pi over 4. And I'm going to keep rolling on through. And right over here I have another y value, root 2 over 2 at 3 pi over 4. So theta is equal to pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4. Okay. Roll down so I can see what I'm doing here, and I'm going to delete my little highlighter bits. Okay, so sine again. So sine, remember, is your y values, and we want sine of theta to equal negative 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to roll over here. All of these sine values are positive. All of these sine values are positive, but these sine values are negative. And right here is my negative 1/2. That's 7 pi over 6. But there might be another one, so I'm going to keep going all the way around the unit circle. And right here is another y value of negative 1/2 at 11 pi over 6. So theta is equal to 7 pi over 6 or 11 pi over 6. Both of those are the answers we want to see, so make sure you include both. Okay, I'm going to delete my highlighter bits. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. Cosine of x, cosine of theta. I'm trying to say the x values are what I'm looking for, but I'm talking too fast. So cosine of theta, we're looking for the x values on the ordered pairs, to be root 3 over 2. Okay, so very first one right here. Let me get to my highlighter again. So root 3 over 2 right here. It's pi over 6. So I'm going to roll. Okay, these x values are negative. Nope, not going to work. These x values are negative. Nope, not going to work. And these x values are positive again right here. Okay, so 2 places on the unit circle where cosine of that radian measure is equal to root 3 over 2. So that's going to be pi over 6 and 11 pi over 6. Okay, last 2. No, wait a minute. Miss Kerr made things a little bit more complicated. All right, not terribly so, but just a little bit. Okay, the first 4 problems the first 6 problems we dealt with, every single problem was already had cosine theta, sine theta, sine theta, cosine theta. You didn't have to solve for anything other than looking at the unit circle. Okay, now problem number 7 and number 8 are not that out of the ordinary, okay, but you do need to take a step or two before you use the unit circle. So I'm going to zoom in here. And unfortunately, attached to cosine here, we have a 2. I need to unattach that 2. So I'm going to divide by 2 on both sides. And I'm going to see that cosine of theta is equal to negative root 3 over 2. And now this looks just like something we did earlier, okay? Let me actually check and see if it is actually something we did earlier, and I can just steal the answers. No, it's not. Of course not. Okay. So cosine is my x values, and I'm looking for where one of those x values is a negative root 3 over 2. Okay. So all my x's right here are either positive or 0. Right here, I have a negative root 3 over 2 as my x value. So 5 pi over 6. I'm going to keep rolling, and right here I have an x value of negative root 3 over 2, and 7 pi over 6. So theta is equal to 5 pi pi over 6 and 7 pi over 6. All right, last but not least, let me delete these highlighter bits. And we'll take a look at problem number 8 here. Okay, so I need to get sine of theta by itself. So in the same way you would solve for x or an equation, right, get this isolated. I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. So 5 sine of theta equals 3 minus 8 would be negative 5. I'm going to divide both sides by 5. So sine of theta equals negative 1. Okay. So now if I want to look at my unit circle, okay, what I'm looking for is a sine value. So sine is my y part of my ordered pairs, okay, and I want that y value to be negative 1. Okay, so all of these are positive up here. All these y values are positive, or in this case 0. Okay, about a negative, 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 but none of these are negative. This one's negative 1. Okay, so right here, I have a sine value of negative 1. That's 3 pi over 2. And I'm going to keep rolling with my unit circle, see if there's anywhere else. And that's it. So out of these problems, this particular theta is going to equal 3 pi over 2. This is the only one that has a single answer, okay? So sometimes you get one answer, sometimes you're going to get two. It's actually possible to get 3 or 4 depending on what your equation looks like, okay? So as always, if you guys have any questions, send them to me. I hope this has helped clarify a few things if you were confused from the first video.